I've been sitting on this for years, and it still stings like a paper cut you didn't see coming. I'm 23 now, but when I was 17, my parents decided to upheave our lives and move us into a dream home they'd been obsessing over for months. It was supposed to be this big, exciting chapter for our family, but for me it was the start of a resentment I still haven't fully shaken. My sister's boyfriend, some dude named Jake, got my room. Yeah, my room. And my dad? He's still a wreck about how it all went down, even if he won't admit it to my face. I need to get this off my chest because it's been eating at me, and I'm tired of pretending it doesn't. So, some context. I grew up in a smallish town in Ohio, in a house that was fine, but nothing special. It was a cramped, three-bedroom split level from the 80s, with peeling linoleum in the kitchen and a backyard that was more dirt than grass. My parents, both teachers, were always scraping by, so when they started talking about moving to a bigger place, I was stoked. I was a junior in high school, awkward as hell, spending most of my time gaming or sketching in my room, which was my sanctuary. It wasn't much, just a twin bed, a desk cluttered with pencils and half-finished drawings, and a shelf of old sci-fi paperbacks I'd inherited from my dad. But it was mine. I had posters of Fallout and Blade Runner taped to the walls, a glow-in-the-dark star sticker on the ceiling from when I was 8, and a lock on the door I'd begged my parents to install after my sister, Emily, kept barging in to borrow my stuff. Emily's 2 years older than me, and at the time she was 19, in her second year of community college, and completely obsessed with her new boyfriend, Jake. Jake was fine, I guess. He was 21, tall, kind of scruffy, worked at an auto shop, and had this loud laugh that echoed through the house. He was over all the time, which annoyed me, but I figured it was temporary. Emily was always falling for guys hard and fast, then moving on when they inevitably did something dumb, like forgetting her birthday or flirting with her friends. Jake seemed like he'd be gone by Christmas. Spoiler, he wasn't. When my parents announced they'd found the house, they were giddy. Mom kept going on about the granite countertops and the wraparound porch, and Dad was hyped about the garage and the half-acre lot. It was a 4-bedroom colonial, about 20 minutes from our old place, in a nicer neighborhood with actual sidewalks and trees that didn't look like they were dying. They showed us pictures, and I'll admit, it looked awesome. I started imagining my new room. Maybe I'd finally have space for a proper desk, or even a second monitor for my PC setup. I was already mentally arranging my furniture when Mom dropped the bomb. We're giving the biggest bedroom to Emily and Jake. I laughed at first, thinking it was a joke. Emily and Jake? Sharing a room? In our new house? But Mom's face was serious, and Dad just looked at his coffee mug like it was the most fascinating thing in the world. Emily was smirking, and Jake, who was there for dinner that night, just shrugged like it was no big deal. I remember saying, "Wait, what? Why does Jake get a room? He doesn't even live with us." Mom explained that Jake was practically family, and that he'd be staying with us for a while, since his lease was up and he couldn't afford a new place. Emily had apparently convinced them it was a great idea, and they'd decided the biggest bedroom, with an ensuite bathroom, mind you, would be perfect for the two of them. Meanwhile, I'd get the smallest room, barely bigger than a closet, with a slanted ceiling that made half the space unusable. I was pissed. Like, pissed. I argued that it wasn't fair. Jake wasn't their kid, I was. I'd been in that family longer than he'd been in Emily's life. Why was I getting screwed over? Mom kept saying it was temporary, that Jake would contribute to the household, and that I should be happy for my sister. Dad didn't say much, just nodded along. But I could tell he wasn't thrilled. He's always been the quieter one, the kind of guy who avoids conflict until it's unavoidable. I stormed off to my room and didn't talk to anyone for the rest of the night. I kept thinking, this is my family's big moment, and I'm getting shoved into a shoebox so my sister's boyfriend can play house. Moving day came a few months later, and it was chaos. The new house was gorgeous, I'll give them that. Hardwood floors, big windows, a kitchen island you could land a plane on. But walking into my room was like a punch to the gut. It was tiny, maybe 10x10 feet, with that stupid slanted ceiling that meant I couldn't even stand up straight near the window. The walls were a dingy beige, and there was one measly closet that could barely fit my clothes, let alone my art supplies. Emily and Jake's room, on the other hand, was massive. Walk-in closet, private bathroom with a double sink, and a balcony. A freaking balcony. I overheard Mom telling Emily they could make it their own, and I wanted to scream. The first few weeks were rough. Jake was loud, always blasting music or laughing at YouTube videos at 2 a.m. He'd leave dishes in the sink, take over the living room TV, and once I found his muddy work boots in the middle of my sketchbook on the dining table. I tried talking to Mom about it, but she'd just say, "He's adjusting, give him time." Emily acted like I was being a brat, telling me I was too old to care about a bedroom. Dad, though, started looking more and more worn out. He'd always been the one I could talk to about stuff like this. He's a sci-fi nerd like me, and we'd bond over old Star Trek episodes or arguing about whether Dune was better as a book or a movie. But after we moved, he seemed deflated, like he was carrying something he couldn't say out loud. One night, maybe a month after we moved, I overheard him and Mom arguing in the kitchen. I was supposed to be asleep, but I'd snuck downstairs for a glass of water. Dad was saying something like, "This wasn't the plan, Karen. We bought this house for us, for our kids, not for him." Mom shot back that Jake was helping with bills, news to me, and that Dad needed to stop acting like it was the end of the world. Dad's voice got quieter, and I heard him say, "I just wanted this to be a fresh start for all of us, not like this." I crept back upstairs, my chest tight. That was the first time I realized Dad was just as upset as I was, but he was stuck, too. Things with Jake didn't get better. He wasn't a bad guy, not really, but he didn't fit. He'd try to joke with me like we were buddies, but it always felt forced, like he was trying to win me over. I'd find myself avoiding the house, spending more time at my friend Nate's place or at the library, sketching in the quiet corners where no one would bother me. School was a distraction, but I was struggling to focus. My grades slipped. Not enough to tank my GPA, but enough that my chem teacher pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay at home. I just shrugged and said, "Yeah." What was I supposed to say? My sister's boyfriend stole my room and my parents don't care? The breaking point came around Thanksgiving. Jake's family came over. His mom, his older brother, and his brother's girlfriend. They were nice enough, but it was weird having them in our house, acting like they belonged there. During dinner, Jake's mom made some comment about how great it was that Emily and Jake had such a nice space to start their life together. I nearly choked on my mashed potatoes. Start their life together? In my parents' house? I looked at Dad, and his jaw was tight, his fork stabbing at his plate like he was trying to murder the turkey. After dinner, I heard him muttering to Mom about how he didn't sign up to House a whole damn family. That's when I knew he was breaking. A few weeks later, I caught Dad in the garage, tinkering with an old radio he'd been trying to fix for years. It was late, probably 11 p.m., and he had a beer in his hand, which was rare for him. I don't know why, but I just spilled everything. How much I hated the new room, how Jake's presence made me feel like a stranger in my own house, how I missed the way things used to be. Dad listened, not saying much, just nodding. When I was done, he sighed and said, "I fucked up, kid. I thought this house would fix things, make us all happy, but it's not working out like I planned." He didn't say anything about Jake or Emily, but I could tell he was carrying the same resentment I was. It was the first time I felt like we were on the same team again. Jake and Emily broke up about 6 months later. Turns out, he'd been texting some girl from his auto shop behind Emily's back. She was devastated, and I tried to be sympathetic, but part of me was relieved when he packed his stuff and left. The room sat empty for a while. Emily didn't want it, said it reminded her of him. I asked if I could move in, but Mom said it was too soon, and they were thinking of turning it into a guest room. A guest room in a house with 4 bedrooms for a family of 4. I didn't even argue. I was too tired. Dad's never been the same since. He's still quiet, still spends too much time in the garage, but there's this heaviness to him now, like he's disappointed in himself for letting things get so out of hand. We don't talk about it much, but sometimes he'll bring me a coffee when I'm sketching and just sit with me for a bit, like he's trying to make up for something. I moved out for college at 19, got a tiny apartment with a roommate, and I love having my own space again. But every time I visit home, I walk past that big bedroom, still a guest room, still mostly empty, and it's like a reminder of how everything went wrong. I don't hate Jake. I don't even hate Emily, though we're not as close as we used to be. I'm just sad. Sad that my parents' big dream turned into this weird, fractured thing. Sad that Dad's still carrying the weight of it. Sad that I lost my sanctuary for a guy who didn't even stick around. I keep thinking about what Dad said in the garage, about how he thought the house would fix things. I guess we all thought that, in our own way. Anyway, thanks for reading this novel of a post. I just needed to get it out. If anyone's been through something similar, how did you deal? I'm still trying to figure out how to let this go.